Hello, and welcome to the Steve and Mark Discuss podcast, where Steve here will introduce a subject. I'll spend a few minutes listening to him, trying not to interject while he's speaking, and then respond accordingly. Okay, so over to you, Steve.
Hi, people. Nobody likes being interjected. Be careful there, sir. Okay,
I'll keep my interjections to myself.
if you can. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Normally, I'm not really into chatting about American politics, if you like.
Mhm.
But this took the biscuit for me, and I have to mention about it. So yesterday, a representative of the House of Representatives um, in the US, a guy called Mike Turner. He after a visit to Ukraine,
Mm.
he came back and he started screaming blue murder. He said uh, that the president of the United States needs to make public a report that he received from the CIA, from
Mm.
the whoever it might be, the Secret Service and the like, about something that involves Russia.
Mm.
And as the day went on, it turns out that it's something to do with Russia and something to do with space.
Mm.
So, we need to remember that the the people in the House of Representatives, isn't it?
House of
Sorry, I tried
Representatives
to
got
get
the yeah,
it's
the upper
House
and
of
lower.
Representatives in the
Yeah,
Senate. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Right. So they put the kibosh on this 90 billion or 60 billion dollar donation
Mm.
to Ukraine.
Yeah.
So this is basically on the heels of this. And last night uh, I did a tiny bit of research, and I said in the comments where I saw the headline, I said it's not actually saying anything new.
Mm.
We could go back to 2013, 2003, actually.
Mm.
And this guy, a guy called Larry Johnson,
Yeah.
he's one of the contributors to this website.
Mm.
He delved a little bit deeper, and when you delve a little bit deeper, it's when you come to the really scummy parts. The
Yeah.
really dirty, scummy parts. And he basically said what I said, only, like I said, he delved that little bit deeper. So um, he said that, once again, he's not saying anything new, and that this Mike Turner is trying to create a problem when there isn't one.
Mm.
Uh, and that if the Secret Service are saying that this is new information, then they're not doing a very good job.
Mm.
You know, Congress, by the way.
Yeah,
It's
Congress,
Congress.
yeah.
So, I confess that I'm reading from this article,
Mm.
and so normally I make notes, and so it says that George W. Bush.
Mm.
Um, it was George W. Bush that unilaterally withdrew from the anti-ballistic missile treaty in June of 2002, paving
Mm.
the way for Russia to develop anti-ballistic missile defenses. Russia responded to the US um, abrogation of the ABM, the
Mm. Yeah.
Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, by declaring it would no longer honour the START 2 treaty. START 2 treaty, I think it was something to do with not making any more nuclear weapons. Russia proceeded to build up the world's best air defense system, and it's designed for intercepting, destroying intercontinental ballistic missiles as well as hypersonic cruise missiles and aircraft. So basically, this guy, Steve Bryan, a seasoned US defense expert, wrote that Russia's space-based nuclear weapons today wrote about it in 2018, which is when I and the Congressman Turner is hyping old intelligence. So basically, this guy, he said the information, as it's already been out in the media, it isn't classified. It can't be classified.
No.
Everybody already knows about it.
It's an open secret.
So there you are. So basically, what this Turner has done, who cried wolf, is if you didn't know about it, you do know about it now, or you will know about it now.
Highlighted it.
Putin said early on, in 2003, I think it was, he wanted to have missiles in space. 2003, and they had a thing. This is what I research now. They had a thing called SIMARS in 2018, which is a ballistic missile that can be fired from land, sea, or air.
Right.
And I imagine that space includes air. I mean, I suspect, but for sure, Donald Trump knew about this back in when he was president, which is why he created the Space Force. That would have been
logical.
His trigger to invent the Space Force on the armed forces. Of course, he didn't say at the time that this is to combat Russia's endeavors to put nuclear weapons into space. He just said, that we're the pioneers. We're going to do this first. And in fact, the United States does have missiles in space. It's like a curtain for long-range ballistic missiles. It's like an Iron Curtain. The Iron Curtain. That Israel has. That Israel talks about.
The Iron Dome. The Iron Dome. Yeah,
the Iron Dome. There you go.
Yeah, the Iron Dome. Yeah.
Russia's the Iron Curtain.
It wasn't quite. The buffer zone.
However, however, so this Turner guy has been ridiculed because he's trying to regurgitate old news as being new news to try and pressure the Congress into releasing or approving the $60 billion to Ukraine. Of course, Mike Johnson, who's the Speaker of the House, he sent everybody home.
That's it. That's it.
He just sent everybody home. The senators all went home. The senators are all on a 2-week holiday now.
Nice,
and some are going to Germany to a weapons meeting, I think it is.
All right,
where they're meeting with people from NATO and stuff like that. And the people from the House of Representatives, they're going back to their constituencies, I think. To refresh
do their good works.
Do their good works. Well put.
Yes.
So there you have it. Guy cried wolf. Nobody listened to him. Over to you.
Well, business as usual. Yeah, we'll call usual. Yeah, yeah,
So good night from me and good night from him.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It is a okay. Yeah, yeah. Space Force. I believe actually, from what I read, actually, Trump didn't actually create the Space Force entirely. There's something in the USAF, the United States Air Force, that was already going that way. So he just expanded it a bit. This is what I read. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing. It makes a lot of sense. If you've got something that's going there, you need a branch that can actually specialize and control it. Yeah, I believe the US are the only country that's ever exploded a nuclear weapon in space. I know it's a slightly different thing, just to see what would happen. Yeah,
Oh,
not a lot.
that's
We didn't even know
news
about
to,
it. Yeah,
news to me. News to me.
yeah. I saw it on a video this week actually, so just by coincidence. Yeah,
Mm.
somebody said what would happen. What would happen if somebody exploded a nuclear weapon in space? The Americans have already done it. Not a lot, because remember, yeah, space. A star is basically a big nuclear explosion.
That's
Yeah,
right. I was going to say that. I was going to say that. That's why the spacemen wear spacesuits.
yeah, yeah,
You go past the what is it, the Van Halen belt,
yeah,
and you're into nuclear territory there.
yeah. Well, I mean, actually, I remember watching a film from the 1970s or 80s, starred Sean Connery, called Meteor. Yeah, my
Mm.
information all comes from Hollywood films. I'm sorry, but yeah, they formed my opinions on the world. But yeah, this was all about the Russians and the Americans having missiles pointed at each other. There's a meteorite heading towards the Earth. Yeah, and they said, well, really, if you destroy it, there's lots of good reasons why you should not use nuclear weapons to destroy a meteor. One of them is you segregate this thing and have new radioactive
Rain,
material
yeah,
raining down on us.
raining.
Yeah, which could be even worse than just having a point blank bang. Yeah, I mean, yeah, actually, we would need about 25 years warning if there was the biggie coming towards us in order to figure out what to do. And then we'd still be arguing about it, or our politicians would be. Yeah. Um, yeah, I'm not going to go into that. I'll save it for another podcast on another day. But yeah, it's quite interesting, some of the proposals. No, some of them sound absolutely crazy, but actually, when you look at the science behind them, are actually very, very good ideas. Yeah. Um, but
I think the US were the Air Force were wanting this
mm,
space force, for want of a better
yeah,
word,
yeah.
since the 1950s.
Well, again, yeah.
When we had these spate of UFO sightings,
Oh,
they
yeah.
became very popular in the 50s and 60s,
Well, yeah.
and the US um, were wanting this special branch
Mm,
of the Air Force,
mm.
um, to deal just with the UFO phenomenon. So
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know recent statistics, or yeah, I always think that actually raised with the actual sort of films in the 1950s or 60s with UFOs coming in. Again, I've just spoken about being influenced by popular culture. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, don't forget there's a paranoia as well, that a lot of these UFO films in the 50s and 60s were a metaphor for alien invaders from another country. I mean, yeah. And going back to, like I said, I mentioned H.G. Wells in a previous podcast. Yeah, I mean, his War of the Worlds was actually quite an interesting scientific thing that got people talking. What if?
yeah, yeah.
Now we've now visited Mars and we've established that. Well, we haven't found ET there yet, but who's to
Little
say?
Green Men.
Yeah, well, they're probably not little green men. I mean, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how anyone develop. I mean, they'd be developing for their own environment, but again, yeah, I digress. Um, yeah, it's interesting, this development of a branch. They had in Donald Trump somebody who probably listened to ideas they already had. It's like I said, the US Air Force already had ideas about it, if not a department for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think Donald Trump, from what I knew, really put much credence in there being UFOs. We covered this in a previous podcast as well, given my views. I don't think ET is anywhere near visiting us. if you look at timescales, even if they're a little bit more advanced than we are, outside our own solar system, if not our own part of the galaxy. Even outside our own galaxy. Yeah. But who knows? They could pop down tomorrow for a cup of tea. Let's hope they're eating. Yeah.
I imagine that any US president, the most common question they're asked,
Yeah,
is about the presidential briefing
yeah,
that they received at the beginning of their tenure,
yeah.
and whether this presidential briefing includes that UFOs are real and the aliens are real.
Mm.
It's been going on since, Bill Clinton, before Clinton.
Yeah, big as you said,
And
probably.
there are websites that fantasize over this,
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting, Donald Trump, if he'd spout off something and make something public
Well,
domain.
he'd have been the most likely president to have done it. And he didn't. He just they asked him, and he just he made a joke of it because he has a sense of humour, bit of a quite dry,
Yeah,
it's different
of course,
sometimes.
it was quite dry. But
Quite dry, yeah, yeah. A bit like Joe Biden has a very, very dry sense of humour. Um, uh, anyway, yeah, getting back to it. I mean, you've got to think the Russians, if they did exist, the Russians would probably be into it. How can we use these people? The Chinese. Yeah, and my view is, and then the other thing is, okay, I'm going to go into it. Did the landing actually happen? Of course it did. If it didn't, the Russians would have known it didn't happen. That would have been a great coup d'etat for them. A great, yeah. But yeah, okay, propaganda wars and everything. Yeah, I think that had been mentioned the other day in the conversation. A certain American journalist had with a certain Russian leader. Yeah, it's. I mean, space. I've always been fascinated with it. I study a bit of it. Our imaginations can't really go to what we don't really understand that much about it, to be quite honest, and let alone visitors from there. I mean, the
the
Space
more
Force.
you, the more you look, the more you find.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Space. The further you go, the more you see.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when we turn on the TV set and we see the static from years ago, we tend not to get it with the digital systems. But yeah, or you can still hear it sometimes, even with micro headphones and everything else. I believe. Yeah, about 4% of it is still sound radiation or residue from the Big Bang. Yeah, makes sense to me. Nobody's come up with a better theory than that. So yeah, I mean it's only 13.5 billion years ago. Quite what was there before then is anyone's guess. But yeah, yeah, I often wonder about that. But yeah, it is yes, the Space Force is obviously a defence thing, not necessarily against little green men. The Vulcans from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy who want to build their super highway, and we just happen to be in the way. Okay, you'll probably glaze over in a minute, but yeah, I mentioned it in a previous podcast.
Too late.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, it is a defence thing. Who knows what we've got spy, but everyone's got a spy satellite up there. Even I've seen them at night looking out my own yard here. Normally have websites where you can track the satellites there and the ISS. You sometimes see something that's a bit weird that isn't necessarily on the software. And you think,
Right.
oh, I think I know what that is. I wonder who that belongs to. Yeah. So you look up the side, see if we've got CCCP on. Yeah. Yeah. On my 20 by 30 binoculars. Yeah.
It's popular when one's got Ryanair on the side of it.
He's made it out there already. Yeah, he's beaten Branson. Yeah.